I look at the people I respect who are entrepreneurs and business people who end up in jail. Like I watch American Greed because I don't want to go to jail. So I'm like, how did they mess up? I don't want to do that. Don't do that, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting, a lot of times it's this person out there who's doing a bunch of stuff and promising the world, and they don't have the S's and the C's to kind of like organize behind them, and so they don't fulfill right, and then they get in trouble. And I think before I had a team and it was just me, like I would sell stuff. Like I was really good at selling stuff, right? And then then I spent the next like 3 or 4 months trying to fulfill on. People were angry because I didn't get done in time fast enough, and like all the other stuff that just stressed me out. And it wasn't until I had the team of S's and C's who could like behind the scenes like organize the chaos into something deliverable and make sure people have a good experience that made it possible, right?
That's such a powerful point. So if you don't want to go to jail,
get some S's and some C's, high C's, yes.
Seriously though, that's such a good point, because it's the S's and C's are gonna like, oh wait a minute, you can't do that, or it's like it's gonna help stay in line so that it's gonna be a longer term benefit. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a great point. So famous high C's. Okay, we got Bill Gates, Einstein, of course we got Spock, Mark Zuckerberg, very high C. Tom Brokaw, C-3PO. Again, they're not going to know some of these. Lisa Simpson, Niles from Frasier. Okay, I'm really. It's our generation here. Al Gore, and of course Spock. And so you kind of get the idea of what these are and again, you can be a combination, right? Like Liz Benny is part Spock and Ellen DeGeneres, right? So she's got a unique...
You're the blend of both.
Yeah, exactly. So we're usually not, it's actually very rare to have just one, and it's also rare to have like what you have, which is 3. You usually have 2 that are high and 2 that are low. But like Russell is a high D, high I, high S, low C.
Which causes an insane amount of internal turmoil. So feel free to only have 2 and feel good about it.
Yes, I find that high D, high D and high S's and high D and high C's have the most turmoil, because it's like your foot is on the gas and the brakes at the same time. Like you have like the devil and the angel, like, come on, let's go. No, wait a minute, we need to be careful.
Well, I have that a lot where I'm doing, but then like as you're moving, there's always like people you're bumping into or offending or potentially hurting or whatever, and then they get so sick about that, and it's just like sometimes it's hard to move forward knowing that like if I do that, it means I have to have this awkward conversation with this person, which I'd rather die than do that, but I have to have it, and like and then just I lock up and freeze down, and like I call Dave, who has no S, and just pure Dave, can you talk to this person? He's like, oh yeah, and he calls me back 5 minutes later, he's like, hey, it's done. I'm like, how'd they take it? He's like, they're fine. I'm like, are you sure they're fine? Because I don't think they're going to be fine. And I start stressing out more. He's like, no, because he doesn't bother him. He just like gets the task done. And someone said that Dave was the nicest mean guy they've ever met, because he just this is what needs to get done. And so anyway, it's just interesting how those things, if you're not careful, can just like gridlock you and keep you from moving forward and doing anything.
See, that's such a great point, that look at what you did. You took care of it because you have someone like Dave who that wasn't a problem for him. That he didn't have any resistance for it. And that's why, like, again, I think that's just as important as having someone like a Todd who's good at details. So rather than trying to beat yourself up to, like, I don't want you to change where you don't care anymore. You know, where you have that part of you that is just so good and of integrity and like really cares. Yes, sometimes it can cause that, but like having someone like a Dave on your team, like that just, proves the point that that's what we all need to do, because we need to have these different types of people on our team to be able to do the things that we're never going to like it. Whereas like Dave, it didn't take as much effort, and that's the point. It's like when you live in your disc, it doesn't take as much effort. You're in the zone, as they sort of, that book, what is it? Where it's like you're living in the zone. I'm forgetting the name of it.
It's probably called In the Zone.
In the Zone, something like that. I forget what. Low C, forgetting the title of the name.
We felt it. We understand the feelings of it.
Exactly. So tips with communicating with the high C, they prefer communication in writing. So they really like emails. Like these are the clients that email you. Like the long, yes, exactly. So they like communication in writing. They want to be precise and factual. So they don't like the over promises and whatnot. They want the truth. High C's really want like the truth and the facts. Be punctual. Like if you're late, that really breaks rapport with the high C. I really loved her. She was actually in the military and she was a high C and she was a great client. And I was late like 3 times in 6 months with her on a coaching session, and it broke rapport. She goes, Mandy, I'm sorry, 3 times you're out. And so it was like, because she was a really high C. It's like, if you're not punctual, it breaks rapport with them. Whereas you and I, like, if we're a few minutes, like, oh, no big deal, no worries, right? A high C, the higher the C, the more like if that's a rule for them. And again, it's important to know what are the rules for a high C. Like, there's certain things I'm sure Melanie doesn't care as much about, and there's certain things that Melanie cares about. So you want to find out what are Melanie's rules, what are their expectations, so that you don't break them. And then that's going to have rapport. So like if Colette, which let me know what her disc is, if she's a high C, you want to know what her rules are. And that needs to be communicated. And I always add this, never say to a high C, be fearless. Like, don't have any fear, because that's like, again, telling a high D not to have passion or anger. Follow the rules. Like, if you just follow the rules, follow the law, you're going to be fine. And again, give them the space and the time to do it right. So like, I'm sure Todd's probably had to give you feedback where you wanted things done faster, and he had to tell you, okay, Russell, this is how long it's going to take, right? To do it right. Yeah.
100%. All the time.
Yeah. So what's the best way for a high C to recharge? Because high Cs, again, they're very cerebral, driven by fear, so they're constantly overanalyzing. They need to be left alone. They need to have private alone time. And so like with moms like Colette, like I highly advise if they need to have that time where they're going like for a hike somewhere alone, or they have something that they get to do alone, like, you know, read a book alone or whatever it may be, they need to have that alone time, because that's how they recharge.
It's funny, we used to have a nanny in our house for a long time, was there all the time. And it would drive Colette crazy because she's cleaning stuff, but she was in the home with her, and she like never felt like she was alone. And we got rid of her. She like, her favorite time, she's like 3 hours a day when Nora's in school, where she's like, I'm home alone. I can do my tasks. I can do stuff without anyone else around. And it's interesting how that important is to her. Whatever. I was like, she's cleaning the other room. Who cares? Just do your thing. And she's like, no, like she's there. I feel like I have to entertain or talk or something. And anyway.
Yes, so it was you at the low C, you don't need that as much. And you're also a high D, high I, so you're more extroverted. So yeah, I bet that's like her favorite time. And anything else, like anything that interrupts that time is going to upset her. Like, that is her recharge time. So if you're a high C or you have high Cs on your team, you need to make sure that they have plenty of private and alone time. So in wrapping up with the disc, we need diversity in teams. I love this. Like, if we're all high Ds, like you were saying earlier, we'd all want to be in charge, and there would be no one to boss around.
There was one, if you were Ripplin back in the day.
Yes.
In Ripplin, there were, and Brian, who set the whole thing up, brought in a bunch of like amazing leaders, and there was like 4 or 5 Ds, and it was funny because it was like fighting at the top because we all had our way and our vision, our thing, and it was just fought. And when it all went apart, it was funny because one of the guys messaged me later, and he was like, had a new project he wanted me to work with. And I remember he called me, and he was like, tell me the whole project. And I'm sitting there, and then we got done. I was like, do you not remember that whole Ripplin? Like, we hated each other. Like, I really respect you, but like, we hated each other. Like, we were always, he's like, oh yeah, I hated you too. I'm like, yeah, we're not good working together. Like, because we're both drivers, and we're like knocking into each other. And then he went his way, and I went my way, and I built ClickFunnels. He built an empire. But it was like, anyway, so it's just interesting if you have too many, or
See, that's a good example. That's a really
everything.
Good story of like, you would think that a bunch of high Ds would get so much done because you're so results focused.
Imagine having 10 Ironmen on your team. Like, that sounds amazing until Robert Downey Jr. kills each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just as bad, right?
You need a Pepper Potts.
Yes.
Right? High SC.
Yes.
Getting everything done. See?
All comes back to Avengers.
It does. Pepper Potts. All high Is, it'd be fun galore, but nothing would get done. All high S's, it'd be calm and order, but no adrenaline and zero change. And all high C's would be thorough and accurate, but where would the perfection end? So this is like, we need all of us. And then I recommend for everyone at Tucama Club, like this one slide, like if you want to have a mind map of just all of it, like to be able to look at, and one of the things, like I said earlier, to implement is you need to be in this conversation on a consistent basis. Like, if you just watch this training and that's it, you're not gonna, it's like, you don't use it, you lose it, right? So like, one of my feedback would be, if you just do this one thing and you print this out, like you take a picture, or you get the PowerPoint, and you print this out where you see it every day, and like you reference it and you practice. Like, if you're a high D, you practice, let's say, your listening skills, or you practice, let's say, your eye contact, Or let's say if you're a high S, you practice being more flexible and more easygoing or more honest when you're upset, right? It's like, what do you need to practice in order to improve your communication skills?
Interesting. I think it's important because I was sometimes, so many times I get frustrated with somebody and I'll talk to you about it. You're like, oh, it's because of blah. And I'm like, oh, that makes more sense. But I'm blinded to like the emotion of the moment. And I think, like you said, the more you study these things and start understanding, the more it's just like, oh, the person's reacting this way because of this. It's not a bad thing. It's an essential thing. Like, how do I relate to that now? Or how do I communicate with that, knowing that that's the reason, that they're coming from a point of fear or from a point of passion or whatever that thing is, and not that they're mad at me or they don't like me or whatever that thing is, you know.
It never has anything to do with you. It's always in our own world. And the better we get at entering other people's world, like you said, we don't take it personally. And like I love how you put you were blinded by the emotion. That's when we become poor communicators. When we get blinded by the emotion and we take things personally, that's when our dark sides come out, and that's what causes more pain and conflict. When we're able to enter someone else's world, that's when we could be able to go, oh, okay, and figure out a solution and be able to have harmony.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Yeah, isn't this cool?
So cool. I love this stuff.
So this is DISC. Now, do you want to go into values?
Yeah, let's go into that one.
Okay. So I'll be quick on values. So values are what drive you, right? So you've heard the saying, you know, the science of achievement, the art of fulfillment. How do we feel fulfilled? Well, if you are meeting your values, you're fulfilled. If you're not meeting your values, you're not. You've got anxiety, you've got fear, you feel empty. Those are the people that feel lost, is when they're not meeting their values. So your values are really important because it's what drives you. And if you have conflict, like in any important relationship, whether it be a spouse, a business partner, there tends to be a values conflict, because our values, that's what makes us us and what gets us up in the morning. It's our fuel. So
when you take the DISC profile, it'll give you a list of like, here's all the values where you are on the line as well.
yes. See, Losi, thank you for catching that. So we're going to go through all these values and like look at like, focus on just right now, like your top two. Like, what are your top two values, and making sure that you're going to meet those. So I'll go over them. Number one, and this is probably most everyone in Tukama Club, I'm going to guess, because it's a lot of people in Inner Circle and just in this culture, is economic. So I got Tom Cruise on there with Show Me the Money. Yes, economic is about money. It's true. But it's because that's the culture we live in, because that's how we measure ROI. But economic people who value economic like you do, it's not just about the money, it's about making sure that you're not wasting time or money. Like, the worst thing you can do and how you can break massive rapport with someone whose number one value is economic is to waste their time or to waste their money. Like, you know, to bore you. Yeah. You would be like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to be with this person or this situation ever again if it feels like you waste, like, what did you say, your life between...
Slipping between my fingers like sand.
Yes.
It's true, because I'm super high economic, and like, one thing you said that really, I remember when you explained this to me the first time, was that ROI is important. So it's the return on investment, and it's not, again, financial, but the return on investment of this conversation or this thing. And I look at the things in my life that I really struggle at, and it's because my subconscious is not able to attach an ROI to. Like, for example, one of my big things I believe in, I need to be reading scriptures every day, right? But I always struggle with that, and I didn't know why until you told me this. You're like, if you don't see the ROI, you don't do it. And I was like, what's the ROI of me doing this? And I'm like, I don't know. And so I had to attach, like for me, I had to go launch a podcast about, like I'd read something and I'd podcast about it. Now there was a return on the investment. I was learning this, here's how I was getting investment. And then it became really easy to do it, right? And like, you know, I have a conversation with somebody. If I like, why am I having this conversation? I struggle and I want to get away. If I see like, oh, I'm getting value in any way, like I'm learning something, or whatever, I get a return on the investment of this time, then I'm charged and excited about it. I struggle in school all the time because I'm like, what is the ROI of the teacher explaining calculus? I want to die right now, right? But then I read a marketing book and I'm like, every page is ROI. Like, I could do this all day and never stop. And so I think if you're high economic, it's just understanding that, and situations where you may not be liking something, it's because you don't have an ROI attached to it. Like, how do you attach an ROI to it? And when you see what that return on investment is, then it's like it lights on fire and gets exciting for you. So I love this one because this is one that made me understand myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, now every situation I'm in, I try to figure out the ROI, and then I can enjoy the situation better. Sometimes I might not have enjoyed it otherwise.
Exactly. So. And I love what you said with you're charged and excited when you're meeting your ROI, and that's meeting your values. Whenever you're meeting your values, you're charged and excited, and when you're not, you're the opposite. So for you high economic people like Russell, you need to make sure you're feeling like you're getting your ROI with your time. And that's so important for your mindset on this journey with Two Comma Club, is like it's going to take time for you to bridge the gap for wherever you're